It's time to talk sports, it's time for the show. When you hear this song on the radio, it's time to tune in, better act fast. Let me get that autograph. Potograph, Sports Talk Radio. Starting now.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 193 of Let Me Autograph, host of the National Collectors Convention Show. Of course, my name is the DH or Drew, and joining me, my co-host, Mr. Scott Rappaport, who I actually got to see last week. What's going on, brother?
Oh, dude, it was awesome getting a chance to, actually be in person. It's the one time a year that actually happens. I wish you hadn't been tied to the booth, so much, so we had more of a chance to walk around.
We'll talk about more about that later.
Yeah, exactly. So, but no, it was definitely good to actually see it in person.
It was really funny because on my phone, while we were at the National, you know how you get your memory, or Facebook, you know how you get your Facebook memories? Yep. It's like, you have a memory 1 year ago today with Scott Rappaport. I clicked on it, and it was our 1 year photo together. Yep. And I was like, we just took that yesterday.
I know. And I don't know if we took that many pictures together. I know we got one shot with Denny that he took. And I'm a little disappointed he didn't, add that into his photo dump. That he threw out. Like, there's a whole bunch of other guys.
Be better,
like that,
Denny, be better.
Oh, I know, exactly. But here's the thing. I know he also took a shot with Mike Gio.
Yeah,
our buddy from Sports Card Nonsense, and that didn't make the photo dump either. So both Mike and I were giving him a little crap about that on Instagram. So
of course, but no. Before we do get started, big shout out to Denny. It was great to meet. If you guys don't know, Denny's Cards on Instagram, wonderful guy and a major supporter of this show and everything we do. And he has a new show out that's absolutely amazing as well. So go check him out. But definitely one of the people I was most excited about seeing this weekend. It was great to finally meet him. So Denny, when you listen to this, thanks for everything you do. And it was great meeting you, bud. But hey, next time we got to make the photo of them. I mean, at least put us on the final cut, bud.
I know. And I'm going to tell you, that dude is an absolute riot.
Oh, yes. Yes.
That dude is so much fun.
Yes.
It's like definitely one of the guys that, I'm hoping to get a chance to hang out with, a little
he's
bit
a
more
massive ball of positive energy. Like he's having so much fun all the time. He's so educated on everything, but the way he's just, like you said, he's just a pure joy, just a ton of fun. I saw him multiple times this weekend, and it was awesome. And we're going to have him on the show very, very soon. We're going to do a post-national show with him, as the next few weeks will be covering people that we talk to, things like that at the National. He will be coming on the show soon, but yeah, it was great to finally get to put a face to the name and finally get some one-on-one time, even if it wasn't a lot for me.
Yeah. And it's weird because we do typically audio only. And that's, with the exception of a couple episodes a year. And that, I'm going to tell you guys, I'll give you a hint and we'll tease this for later. That is going to change starting next week.
Yes.
We're not doing it this week because I am at the lake on vacation. And I don't want that background being there, but that's going to change now. But the cool thing is, it's like, we do get recognized. You get recognized more than I do, but I do get recognized sometimes. And it's usually when people hear me talk.
Right.
And it's like, oh yeah. But the guys, it's funny because, the guys that do a lot of video content and things like that, you see their face, you know who they are, you can pick them out from a crowd, and you kind of feel like you know each other. Like you don't even have to jump into a introduction conversation because we all know who we are.
Yeah.
And it makes it very interesting. And I've always felt that okay, maybe this is what Hollywood is like, with all the actors and things like that. Like they've never met before, but they've seen each other's work. They know who they are. And, I think the card community is very much like that as well, with, especially with all the people that are putting out content. It was great getting a chance to, hang out with some of the guys that, put out stuff.
It definitely was. That's one of my favorite things to do every year. But I would like to say to everyone that is listening, especially for those that went to the National, the amount of you that came up to me this weekend that I did not know at all at whatsoever, did not know your name or anything, and talked about how much you guys love the show, how much you listen to the show, keep doing what you're doing. So many different compliments. I was recognized everywhere from on the floor to the elevator in our hotel, I think 5 different times when we were inside with different people. Like it was very humbling, and I greatly appreciate it. So I do want to take 1 second to just say thank you to you guys. It was really cool. It was different. I mean, obviously, every year people hear you and they know your voice, and you know some of the people that are more active on comments and everything like that. But these were just random people, and for that, you know, in the crowd. And so just thank you guys so much. It means a lot that you listen. And a show like this often reminds you, you know, how much kind of an impact we do have on the hobby is it can be easily forgotten. You know, we put these up, they're out in space, and then who knows what happens.
Exactly. Now, before we get into the rest of our recap for the National, there was something big that happened the other day, and it involves somebody who I honestly didn't even know was in the hobby in general. No, I had no idea. And so we all know that, you know, a month ago or so?
Yes, a little over a month ago.
Yes, the One Ring, Lord of the Rings Magic card got pulled. The 1 of 1 sent to PSA, graded a 9. We had no idea who pulled it, but it just sold. And you were not surprised by this as to who was the buyer.
Nope.
But I was, because I had no clue that he was in the hobby. And when I say the hobby, I'm lumping in sports and TCG into the same
the collectible industry. Yeah.
Exactly. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what happened?
No, absolutely. So when the card was pulled, obviously everyone's first question was, well, who pulled it? Because we saw images of it. We saw it when it was graded. We never saw it ungraded. We never saw a video of the pull. We never saw who pulled it. They never made their name public. Now I kind of see why.
Yeah.
But he did make a 2.6. Now this is what's being reported, and it was valuated at $2 million. And apparently what they're saying is that it was sold for 2.6, but his name, the man who pulled it at least, is Brooke Trafton. He's from Canada, and he was just a simple retail worker, not like everyone was expecting. They said it was given to some celebrity or some hot box or something. Nope, just a regular old guy, regular old collector. That's who pulled it. He kept it really quiet, like you said. Went through PSA, graded a 9. Probably would have went through Beckett had that offer been announced before he graded it, but it wasn't. But he graded the card through PSA, got the 9, put up a video right during the National, right towards the end, and finally showing the card ungraded, like right when he pulled it. He had taken a video, and then he put up another video showing that this was his card and that he was a huge fan and wanted to get this card to Post Malone. Within 48 hours of that video being posted, another video is up of him in a room with Post Malone holding the card and confirming the deal, saying, all right, let's do it. Post Malone bought the card for reportedly $2.6 million, shattering the biggest sale for Magic the Gathering period, as I believe the one before that was around, I want to say around 150,000 to 175,000. The Black Lotus artist proof autograph, which that was the one that had the biggest sale before. So Post Malone now owns the top MTG cards basically in terms of sales in the hobby in general. But Post Malone bought the One Ring card. He is a huge Magic player, has been for a long time. There's a lot of videos you can go out and find of him actually playing the game. Like he still plays it. And
like imagine showing up at a tournament somewhere, and you wind up getting a random draw at a table, and you sit down, and your opponent is Post Malone.
Yeah, I just say fuck it at that point, because that deck is stacked.
I know. I don't know the game. I don't know the rules. Neither. I do know, like with Pokemon, you can only go back, in tournaments, you can only go back a certain period of time.
Yeah.
So you can't play with cards from
96
base set, 96, things like that. I don't know if Magic is the same rules or not, but that does change things. But yeah, if you got these giant cards, but I'm sure Post can afford any card he wants. So he could, in theory, put together like the most ultimate deck.
Well, that's the thing I saw a lot of people saying. They're like, they were bashing the valuation, like everyone does. It's got to be negativity. So they attacked the 2.6 blah 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 for this, such a waste of money, yada yada yada. Yeah, 2.6 million for him is nothing, especially for a collector. I mean, then that's what we talk about when we talk about these high end cards all the time. Like, you may see the price tag and say, holy shit, that's a ridiculously stupid price. It might be for mine and yours and my buddy's tax brackets and all that.
Yeah.
But for the people buying these cards, it's not. And so, I mean, I firmly see the value in this, especially for a collector. And I think it's wonderful for the community in multiple ways. It shines a massive light on Magic, more than they've had probably in, I don't know, 20 some years, shining a major light on Magic, but also bringing pop culture, bringing attention. This hit TMZ. This has hit all the big newspapers. This has hit everything. And anytime our hobby can get more mainstream, I'm sorry, that's a great thing. I don't
know.
care.
That is a great thing. And I will say this guy did the right thing in keeping it quiet on who it was. He basically followed the same rules that they tell people to follow when you hit a, huge lottery jackpot.
Yep. Shut your mouth.
Shut your mouth. Don't tell anybody. Sign the back of the ticket. Hopefully he got himself an accountant and a tax attorney or something like that. Because, well, I mean, you think our taxes are bad here? Canada, holy crap.
Yep.
But, at the same time, this is a guy, he's not, some huge collector. This isn't like, Drake dropping a ridiculous amount of money looking for the LeBron triple logo man.
No, this was a retail worker grabbing probably 1 or 2 boxes.
Exactly. And now he's got life-changing money.
Yes.
This is exactly like winning the lottery.
No, yeah, these are the feel-good stories the hobby needs.
Yeah, but this also goes along what I've always said about guys that rip wax is wax is very much like lottery scratch-off tickets.
Very much.
So. Sometimes you break even, sometimes you lose, sometimes you wind up hitting big.
Yeah.
And this guy has clearly hit big.
Yeah, life-changing money for him for sure. I love it because the speculation was, someone on everyone online, someone big got it. It's, it's going to be revealed that some, Drake of all people got the one ring or something like that. But no, it was just a retail worker in Canada, normal guy, quiet guy from everything I've seen. Who did the right thing, documenting it, pre-grading, even though he kept it to himself,
which is fine. And then obviously PSA publicized that they graded the card, but they'll never release, who sent it in
unless they get unless they get approval, unless that's
well, of course, if you get permission and if they get permission from the guy and stuff like that, absolutely. But with unless they do, they're not going to do that. And obviously we know that offer was out there for Beckett to grade it for free, including airfare and the special slab and things like that.
Slabs, ion case, all that stuff. Yeah,
right. But I'm curious: did PSA charge him for the grading?
I doubt it, but also he did submit the card, which we did find out before the Beckett offer was even announced.
Yep.
So had the Beckett offer been on the table for him, who knows what slab that would be in? The only way to know for sure would be to ask him.
Exactly.
He's the only person that knows that answer.
Yeah, and that's there's one other guy we can ask. For that we can always reach out to our buddy Chris Carlin.
Very true.
Who I ran into at the National. So much fun, dude. I love Chris.
There's never a bad. I don't think anyone's ever had a bad interaction with Chris Carlin. He is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and actually, speaking of bad interactions.
Oh God.
So now we're back here. So I got to spend a lot of time with our buddy John from Denver Card Shows. Last week. Absolutely, first time I've met him in person. Absolutely amazing guy. Mm-hmm. Had a ton of fun with him, and he gave me, and about this too, he gave me an update on his story with his bad experience with PSA after he got screwed with the faked slabs that he came on the show and talked about a couple months ago. We're not going to talk about it now, but we are going to have John back on in the next couple weeks to give us the update. And the reason I'm teasing this now is because, well, Chris Carlin plays a part in that. So, keep an eye on that for the, in a future episode. I don't want to steal the thunder, but I want John to come back on and actually tell us what happened, because it's actually a really cool story.
Nice. So, and we'll definitely have him on in the very, very coming weeks, as Denver Card Shows does have their next show at the end of this month. So we'll have him on to talk about that story and the upcoming show and everything like that here very soon.
Exactly. All right. So Post Malone buys the car. I actually, truthfully, if it was going to be somebody with the news, I expected Peter Jackson maybe to buy it.
Yeah, right.
He's got money. He's got, but no, it's, and obviously he's got huge ties to Lord of the Rings, but no, went to Post Malone, a massive player of Magic. And that's new to me. So it's like, okay, cool. Had no idea he was into that, but evidently I'm the only one that didn't know that he was into that. So good way to end the weekend.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
So going back though to the beginning of the week.
Yes, let's go back. Let's start our NSCC coverage.
Let's go into Tuesday, Wednesday, everybody rolling in, got a chance to catch up with everybody. I had a really random chance encounter with Derek Jeter.
Yes, you did.
On Thursday morning.
I got to see that.
Yeah, you got to see that. That was weird. Did not expect that. Yes, I did. And here's the thing. So he was hanging out at the Arena Club booth before the show floor opened, and got a chance to take a picture with him. And yes, I did tell him, hey, if you ever wanted to come on the show and talk about Arena Club and things like that we would love to have him on. Wound up, talking afterwards to Jesse from Arena Club.
Those guys were great. They were set up across from us all week. Wonderful guys.
So hopefully, I don't know, maybe there's like a 1% chance. Maybe we get Derek Jeter on. Talk about Arena
come on,
Club.
Captain, anytime.
You are welcome.
I will bump somebody for you. There's not many, but I'll bump someone for you.
I'll bump I'll bump Drew to get Jeter on.
I'll bump Scott.
No, exactly. That did happen. I have another awesome story, but I'm going to save that for a little bit later in the show, because I did bring Ethan, my son, with me on Friday. When the show is in Chicago, I usually do that once, take one day and try not to do anything and just bring him with and get a chance to walk around and do that kind of
enjoy. Have a day with your son at the National. Yeah.
Exactly. And something always happens, and it just becomes weird. This got even weirder. So I'll talk about that in a little while. But you had a chance to walk around. I had a chance to walk around. I had a chance to buy the 2023 Topps Chrome Jumbo box that the Ohtani Superfractor came out of. And so it was my buddy Ronnie from Elite Sports Cards here in Chicago, who was set up in the new area, is the one who had the box that the kid bought that ripped it, pulled the Ohtani. I didn't do any jumbo, but I was there not long before the kid was there, and was giving serious consideration to picking up a couple of those jumbo boxes from him. And he only had 3. And of those, and I would have bought them all.
Well, of course.
Had I bought it. So I was kicking myself for that, but I'm happy that, it was a, random kid that wound up pulling it instead of one of the big breakers and, and stuff like that. So, all right. So what did you see that you absolutely fell in love with?
A ton of stuff. One thing that was really cool, tell one really cool story, and then I want to talk about just a lot of different things from the National in general. Did get a chance to hang out with Ed Reed for a while, which was really cool.
Okay.
Ed Reed was out at Gibson's when we were eating at Gibson's, and we actually ran into him. He ended up coming over, finding out that we were a PSA submitter. He was sending with another grading company that I won't mention, PGS, and he wasn't happy with the results. So he wanted to come over and switch over to PSA. So he now subs with us. We got to hang out with Ed Reed for a little bit, lock that account down, so to speak, and a couple other things. And I will tell you, Ed Reed is one of the coolest dudes in the world. This was the most down-to-earth guy I have ever seen. Within 5 minutes, he acted like he was your best friend. Like, he introduced himself, and within 5 minutes of talking to him, it's like you're talking to someone you've known forever.
I've heard a lot of good things about Ed Reed over the years. So
unbelievable.
It's not a surprise.
Unbelievable guy. I can't say enough good things about Ed Reed. I've always been a fan, but I'm a much bigger fan now, just on the way he interacted with total strangers. Now, granted, he wanted to do business, but he did not have to go to the lengths he went to. So that was a whole lot of fun. That was probably my cool, fun celebrity interaction of the weekend, if you will, outside of just talking to so many of you, the listeners, and just people at the show. That was, like I said, that was the most humbling and most incredible thing. Also, the main stage was awesome. Thank you to everyone who came out to see Hobby Hotline on that. No, you couldn't hear a lot of it online. That's because they're microphones. You literally have to eat them to make a noise. But yeah, had a lot of fun. But I will say one thing after this national. Two things. One, Chicago has to be a destination for the national every other year, if not every year. It's fucking amazing. I'm sorry. I am not going to
argue that point.
The national in Chicago is fucking amazing, from food to layout to how they do the bag check at the front. Everything. This could have been a clusterfuck. I mean, they set the record. We set the record this weekend for the most attended national ever. This could have been awful. And yes, some people complain, oh, it was hot. Try being there on move-in day when they opened all the doors. It wasn't hot during the show. I mean, it was a little warm, but it wasn't hot considering all the people there. The internet was good. I have no complaints whatsoever after this show. And if you listen to last year's post-national show, I had nothing but complaints.
Last year was bad. There was a lot of stuff that went on. But here's the thing. So the air conditioning issue, the air conditioning was running. The problem is we had so many areas that were close to the doors, and even though the doors were closed, and the fact that it was like mid 90s with 100% humidity and felt like it was in the triple digits, any air conditioning is going to have a hard time keeping up with that.
Especially with close to 100,000 people or more.
Exactly.
Building.
Yeah. Normally, it is not like that. Normally, it's like, once it dropped, the weekend was great. It dropped down into the 80s, and the AC was able to keep up, and there were still some hot spots. But a lot of that had to do with, electricity usage and things like that that was going on in some of these booths. Some of the lighting that was used that generated some extra heat. So that created the problem. And that's going to be a problem anywhere. But in this case,
Well, no, I was going to say the biggest takeaway that really I took from the national was just how freaking enormous it was. And I said this on Hobby Hotline when we were on the main stage. Okay, we all knew they were expanding the floor. We all knew it was 20 to 200,000 or something square feet, whatever it was, that they were adding to the floor. We all knew that months going into it. Never once did I try to visualize what that would look like. I took the number and said, okay, it's going to be a little bit bigger. No. This wasn't just a little bit bigger. This was absolutely enormous. I never put it in my head to say, okay, what's this going to look like? And I looked back at the national last time it was in Chicago, and then I realized they pretty much added the entire floor space. They doubled the entire floor space outside of the Breaker Pavilion. So the sheer, just massive, just enormity of this blew my mind. And I mean, we always say you can't do the national in a day. Well, if it keeps getting this big, good God, you can't do the national in a weekend. I mean, you're going to need the entire 5 days to hit that entire floor now, because it is huge.
I was there all week, and I did not get a chance to see everything in every area and things like that. In fact, I didn't even discover where they moved the pokey stand to until Saturday.
I never found it.
It was in the hall. Well, in 29 or last year, 2021, it was in the lobby, and it was great. It was easy to find. This year, they put a bar there, and they tucked away the pokey stand in an area like a corner of the original hall.
Okay, that's why I didn't get it.
Yeah, and that it was hard to find and in a cramped area and things like that. And so I didn't find that till Saturday. But I think it was amazing. I think the displays were absolutely phenomenal. We got a chance to see some really cool stuff. I'm a little disappointed at I'll talk about mascot for a minute because we had Ezra on the last show before the National. I loved their booth. I loved the demos that they were doing. They got a lot of positive feedback, from a lot of people. And I just didn't like the fact that they were tucked away in the back row facing the back wall.
Right.
So like you couldn't find where they were. And look, I understand that you've got to be able to put people where they can fit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it would have been nice to see them,
especially being in a corporate
visible.
area,
Exactly.
like they could have moved things around a little bit, which granted there were 2 corporate areas this year, which shows you just how big it is. But no, I agree. And it wasn't limited to just mascot. There were a couple other booths like that too, but mascot in particular was a little difficult to find. And but if you could find it, like you said, phenomenal booth layout, amazing demos. And from everyone I talked to and from the people I saw, and when I got a chance to talk with Ezra, looked like it was going phenomenal for him. So
it was going great for them. And I will say they had the most comfortable chairs.
Yeah.
They had the big poofy white chairs.
And
they had the best lighting. So when I needed to get a good look, because lighting in that room is always terrible. So when I needed to get a good look at a card to determine whether or not I want to grade it or not, in fact, I did my ripping at their booth. They were kind enough to let me steal the table to, do some ripping back there, and but their lighting was the best. So I was able to get a good look at everything and things like that. But yeah, I kind of wish that they had a better location. But something that was different this year, I don't know if you had a chance to make it into the VIP lounge.
I did.
But Ludex sponsored the VIP lounge, and they did something a little bit different. So in the past years, the VIP lounge was just a room with a bunch of tables in.
Yeah.
That if you had a VIP pass, you can get in there and you can sit down and you can
take a break away from all the crowds.
Exactly.
Have a cup of water.
Yeah. This year, though, not only did they bring in a couple of food vendors in there, but they also had other vendors that were set up, and some of them rotated and some of them, were permanent. But, so you could walk in, you could buy food and not have to worry about the same lines in the, you're fighting where they ran out of hot dogs and pizza for a couple of days.
Yeah.
But come on, guys, this is Chicago.
Right.
The 2 things that you should never run out of are hot dogs and
pizza.
But they also put up a stage.
Yeah.
And they ran a lot of great content on that stage. People that, you wouldn't have seen up on, the main stage.
Right.
Some smaller stuff. I know they, who did I see up there? Cassius Marsh was up there doing a bunch of stuff. A couple other guys, our buddy Tim from Slab Strong, Corey from Show Your Slabs, they were up there doing a panel. It was a cool room. They made it very interactive. And one of the really cool things that I saw, and this is the reason that I came back on Sunday. I originally wasn't going to come Sunday. But I got a chance Saturday night in the back area, the curtained off area of the VIP lounge. I got a chance to hang out with Lauren Taylor. And for those of you who don't know who Lauren is, she is known as, the tops artist, but she, creates some absolutely amazing sports related artwork. She did some soccer stuff that actually got her a trip to the women's Champions League final in Italy to present this work and, take in the game and things like that. Like I found out that she was releasing a product that is incorporating her artwork. Some things are new, some things are things she's previously done.
Sure.
And you can buy a pack of this. There's 3 4x6 prints in each pack. And we'll share the information and some pictures and stuff that I took on Instagram once we get this episode posted. but it is awesome. There's certain, parallels that she's done that are shorter print than others. There are versions that you can get that are artist signed, and things like that. But it's a really cool thing, and these things would look absolutely amazing in a graded slab.
Yeah.
Once they get in there. I had a lot of fun talking with her on Saturday night, so I had to come back Sunday morning when they were debuting the product. And that was debuted. It wasn't on the show floor. It wasn't, it was in the VIP lounge. So that was a lot of fun. And, like I said, I'll share some pictures and things like that on Instagram of what the product looks like and, kind of what the checklist is going to be, because I got a picture of the checklist, and it is baseball related.
Nice.
So it's going to appeal to a lot of people, and it's, the
I'm
artwork.
looking forward to that, because Lauren does, like you said, some absolutely incredible work, and that's a really cool little twist. And we talked about this on the main stage a lot too. The major presence of, card artists and card art in the world, and I'm not just talking about, people like Card Carver, Card Killer, Tim Carroll, things like that. I'm talking about the actual artists that make the cards and that are responsible for so much stuff that you guys see, where it used to be a little footnote on the back of the card. You never knew who did it. Now those artists are getting the recognition that they properly deserve in this hobby, and that have always deserved in this hobby. And they're able to do things like Tyson Beck does, custom drops with certain players. Now Lauren Taylor being able to take her amazing portfolio of these just incredible designs and being able to get them out to you with her name attached to it. I think it's an awesome thing for the hobby. And I think it's something that, it's a really big growing niche market of the hobby.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then outside of that, some of the displays, so Panini put up their display, and, this is this is a week old story, because, you did the video talking about Arch Manning and them, that announcement, signing him. And I must have walked past that thing 10 times where we filmed.
Right.
And until we walked up there to pick the location on where we were going to film that, I didn't even notice that Arch Manning card was on that display.
Yeah, they had been teasing it for days and no one saw it.
Nobody noticed.
No, and it was right there and really big.
Yeah, and look, the reality is the people that would have seen it before the announcement were, anybody who had early setup for the dealers and things like that. So they announced it on Wednesday morning. Anybody who was able to get in there, corporate setup Monday, early setup on Tuesday for dealers and things like that. There is where we would have noticed it, but nobody noticed it. Nobody said anything about it. And then we walk up there to film that piece because we knew we wanted a Panini backdrop for it, because if it was a Panini announcement, and it's like, holy shit, there's a Arch Manning card right there.
The hint was there all along.
How did I not notice that the 10 or 15 times that I walked right past that?
That seems like a Tracy Hackler detail. Now that he's back with Panini, that seems like something Tracy. That seems like a Tracy idea to me. Throw it up there. That does seem like a Tracy idea. Anyone breaks it before we do.
It does seem like a Tracy idea. But speaking of Tracy, I sent you the picture of this. I had an awesome opportunity to play a little game of not Where's Waldo, but Where's Tracy. I was looking for him because I knew he was there. So I asked one of the guys at Panini, like, "Hey, have you guys seen Tracy?" And he just looks towards this area and he's like, "Where's Tracy?" And I'm like looking at, like he's in this area. And I look over there, I don't see him on the ground, and all of a sudden I look up and he literally climbed the scaffolding of the Panini booth and was sitting on top with a microphone as they were doing Pack Wars. And I'm dying laughing because
it's great. It's phenomenal.
How is he? Well, one, how did they let him up there without wearing a harness?
Yeah. Well, it's two, Tracy. I guarantee you they probably tried to put something. No. He was doing it.
or he just did it. He just didn't.
I'm pretty sure he
was like, I'm going to climb up there and do this. So he wound up there, and I'm dying laughing. I point up to him, and he just, he starts laughing and waves down. I mean, like, all right, that's cool. So I got a chance to give him a little crap for it the next day.
Yeah.
When I saw him, but it's, the fun things like that. These are the things you don't see. I also got a chance. So Nate Burns, I don't know if from Grand Slam down in Nashville, he picked up as part of this thing he bought you guys are familiar with the 1990 Topps George H.W. Bush cards that they put out, and 100 of them were given to him at the White House. Well, he was able to pick one up that was signed on the back by George Bush. I got a chance to see that in person, and
that's cool.
It's just, that is really cool. It's a piece of history. The letter that came along with it. Got a chance to see the SGC 9 Mickey 52 Topps Mickey Mantle that Heritage Auctions has up. Unfortunately, the picture I took of that did not show up in my phone for some reason, along with the picture that I took with my buddy Ari. And we're going to have Ari coming on the show in a couple of weeks here. Great story. You'll actually hear him in a little while when we talk about the Signatures for Soldiers stuff. So we have an interview with him. He joined me for that. His first national convention. He just got back into the hobby a couple of years ago, just retired from the Navy after 24 years. And he came up to visit his parents and his sister, and he came with his dad. And I actually got a chance to play tour guide with him for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And it was the most fun that I've ever had at a national convention.
Love it.
So what else did you get a chance to see?
Well, I spent a lot of time in the booth, so I got to see a lot of really cool cards. I will say that. Took in a ton of submissions. Outside of that, everything, man. The whole thing, the whole vibe. That's what I took away from it. Last year felt like, I don't know, it didn't have electricity to it. It just felt like it was there and people were coming. And by day 2 or by day 3, it didn't seem like much excitement was there. This weekend, the thing I took away most was the excitement factor from literally early setup until people were absolutely gone on Sunday. Just the electricity, the excitement, the amount of stuff that moved, the amount of vintage that moved. Holy shit, the amount of vintage we took in was the most we'd ever taken in. And it was in a week. It was insane. Just so much stuff, man. I could go on forever. I could do an entire episode on some of the stuff I saw this weekend. I thought everyone did an incredible job. I thought the booths were amazing. I think a lot of companies did a wonderful job of making it a much more interactive experience as opposed to, here's what we got and that's it. That a lot of people made a really focused effort, whether it be Upper Deck with their panel that they had, all weekend. They had a little stage with their new company they set up with, giving some really cool information. They had, obviously the main stage like always, but it didn't center all around breaking like it felt like last year with the big whatnot strip and a massive breakers pavilion. It felt more of a card show. It felt more of like the National again. It felt more like a card show again. And I don't know.
I think part of that with the not feeling like a big breakers convention, I think a lot of that had to do with the layout of the room in Chicago versus the layout in Atlantic City. Because Atlantic City, the room was just one long strip. Where Chicago, it's broken up into, you have the 2 large halls and then you've got the 2 smaller, rooms in between the halls that, one of them is breakers and PSA, and the other one they actually turned into more dealer tables. So, but I have raw numbers. Because as you guys know, I'm in the merchant processing business as my day job, and I have a lot of clients that are set up at the National that are using my service. And I'm not going to give you exact numbers because that's private info. But what I can tell you is that compared to, I'm not even going to compare it to Atlantic City. I want to compare to 2021 in Chicago.
Okay.
3 times the volume.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, and I have no idea what was done in cash.
That's simply processing stuff.
This is simply people that made purchases on credit cards.
Yeah.
The volume was 3 times greater this year than it was in 2021 in Chicago.
And that was, 2021 Chicago, that was peak. That was one of the blow up years.
Yes, that was still, we're still talking about, the pandemic boom
Yep.
At that point. And this year, a lot of the drivers, I think for a lot of my wax dealers I work with, a lot of the driver was Topps Chrome coming out. That stuff was moving like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk about that as a product next week.
Yes.
But I hit some amazing stuff. But you know what the best thing about it was? So ripping that stuff and the Topps Chrome, one of the products that launched at the National this year, and I love when they do product launches at the National. Our buddy Clint from Zion Cases launched the Mag Pro.
Yes.
And we knew this was coming, but I'd never actually seen one in person. Holy crap, these things are amazing.
I told you. Yep. They're incredible.
You did tell me the sparkly stuff from Topps Chrome looks really nice.
Oh, yes.
In these things. It is like they are crystal clear.
Yep.
It's, like if you've ever seen a CSG slab.
I was about to say, yeah.
Yeah, the clarity of the CSG slabs I think is actually the best out of any grader, any grading company that's out. CSG's got the clearest plastic and stuff like that. Yeah. It's like that.
Mm-hmm.
And look, don't get me wrong, I love Ultra Pro. They're a great company. I love BCW. They're a great company, but I am not going back to one touches from any of those companies.
Nope.
The only downside is you've got to store them with your graded cards because they are a little bit taller.
Yes.
They do have a little. They've got a flip that you can put on it too, which is really cool. But I am not going back to the standard one touches. It's going to be Mag Pro. The Zion Cases Mag Pro from here on out because they are absolutely amazing.
No, they're incredible. When he showed me a couple of months ago, and I'd keep it quiet for a long time until I was able to drop a couple of hints. But when he showed me these at one of the Collecticons and what they were bringing, I was like, oh man, this is going to be huge. And I knew at the National was going to be the debut. And you guys can check out when I was doing a random box rip one morning, Scott came by and did a beautiful example with some Topps Chrome of those Mag Pros. It's on our Instagram, the Let Me Get That Potograph Instagram. So go check that out if you'd like to see what they look like. We did about a 10-15 minute video discussing those for quite a bit. But definitely check out what they look like. But I'm right there with you, man. Once I finally got to use them, get them in hand, actually really work with them some as opposed to just checking it out, game changer. Like just amazing.
Yeah, and that's one of those things. It's like, holy crap! And you were expecting to do a quickie, Prism Monopoly rip in that video. You had no idea that we'd be doing a product review.
Nope.
With that. So
the best part about the National, you start out opening a box board by yourself, and you end up having some fun.
No, exactly. Now here's the other thing with the National. So their official charity for the last couple of years has been Signatures for Soldiers. And we've had Tim on the show multiple times over the years to, talk about it. Unfortunately, because of scheduling, we didn't get a chance to bring him on before the National. But something big happened with them.
Mm-hmm.
And it is an absolutely amazing story. And I got a chance to sit down with him and my buddy Ari in tow and talk with him about exactly what happened and what's going on. So take a listen to this.
Hey everybody, Scott here. Drew is off doing Hobby Hotline right now, so I am taking over the reins briefly, and we have our old buddy Tim Virgilio from Signatures for Soldiers here with us. Tim, how you doing?
I'm well, Scott. How are you, man?
Doing excellent. How has the National been for you so far?
The National has been outstanding. The support that we get year after year. Every year I go, this was the greatest National ever. Then we come to the next one and it tops it by day two. So it's great.
All right. Now, speaking of day two, you and I had a conversation the other day, and you knew coming into this National that you were getting really, really close to that $250,000 raise mark since 2018. Not $250,000 at just this National.
If it were $250,000 at the National, I'd probably just live here.
All right. So we all knew you were getting close. You knew you were getting close. And something magical happened.
Yeah, so it was pretty wild. I've been talking with the guys that own Hobby Box, and they had planned on doing a live stream Tuesday night before the National opens to help raise money for us. And in talking with them on Tuesday morning about it, I let them know that we were a shade over $10,000 from hitting the $250,000 mark in total money raised. And they made it their mission that night to raise that money. So before the show even opened on Wednesday, we were over $250,000, which in total money raised, which just...
And they stayed here until late at night.
Yeah.
Doing auctions. Was it on Whatnot or was it...
on Whatnot,
On
yeah.
Whatnot.
Yep.
Specifically to raise money for Signatures for Soldiers, and stayed here until they had enough to hit that $250,000 mark.
Yep. They spent 3 hours at our booth going through everything, doing their flash auctions, just pulling stuff and going, all right, this is what it's for, this is what it's for, this is what it's for. And they were absolutely determined to hit that $10,000 mark. And
so before the show even opened,
$10,000 and
$250,000
in total raised since we started.
That is absolutely insane. Now, along with Tim, I have got a national convention rookie, but a guy that I have known since I was a little kid. It's my buddy Ari Shapiro, who is in town this week. Just retired from the Navy a couple months ago after 20 years.
24.
Oh, yeah, 24. Sorry, I forgot about that. And so, obviously, I wanted to bring you in because you are freshly retired. And, you heard about Signatures for Soldiers from listening to the podcast.
Absolutely.
Which you heard about because you and I got reconnected, a year or two ago, through the hobby. After not really seeing each other, talking to each other for like 25 years, and so forth. So I want to get your impression, because you obviously know what Signatures for Soldiers does. I want to get your thoughts on like what their work means to the veteran community. Maybe guys that they may have done some things to help out guys that you serve with. So yeah, I want to get your thoughts on that. And then we'll kind of roll into everything.
First off, I just want to say, Tim, thank you so much for what you do. It's an amazing, selfless act. Thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. I also want to thank you, Scott, for introducing us and actually being my personal tour guide with my father here at the biggest collection show in the nation. So, to speak about Signature for Soldiers, it's a selfless act by what they're doing. And unfortunately, we do have a huge problem with homeless veterans in our country. And, a guy that's just donating all his money to help those people is amazing. So as a veteran especially, it touches me. And thanks again for doing this. It's great.
Yeah. And that's, when Tim and I were talking the other day, I knew Ari was coming out with us on Saturday, and I thought it would be cool to, have that kind of announcement made about, what went on and what, you hit that goal and, kind of what you guys are doing for the community. Have, somebody who's freshly civilian, who, to come out, for that. So I know you got goosebumps every time you tell that story about what happened the other night.
I'm sorry, with that.
You got goosebumps. You still get goosebumps telling the story about what happened on Tuesday night.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It just because as I've talked about before, when I started this in 2014, the goal was $500, and now people often ask me, well, what's it feel like to see it grow like it has? And I don't think that I have the correct words. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I can even. I'm not sure that there are words really put in to describe the feeling. I mean, it's overwhelming. It's humbling. It's exciting. It's fun. But I mean, I'm just a guy. I mean, 9 years ago, most of the folks that are supporting us now would trip over me in the street and have no idea who I was. And now, just to have the hobby community, from the collectors to the companies to the athletes, just supporting, believing in what the mission is and supporting what I'm doing, it is truly humbling. It really, really is. I'm just, every time I talk about it, I become speechless. I get the goosebumps. You know, it's just, again, you know, I'm not even important in my own head.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just, and here we are. You know, this is the 5th national we've been at, the 3rd year in a row that we've been the charity partner. So we're having the online auction through Pristine going on, where 100% of the bids comes back to us. You know, we have a booth space. We've grown exponentially as far as our booth space goes.
Yeah.
That gets donated every year. So it's just amazing. And, you know, year after year, you know, when we go to the national, you know, for folks who know what we're doing, they're like, you're the first booth I come to. You know, you're the first booth I come to see what you have and to support you and just to say hello. And it's great. So every year we come back and we're seeing what and I now consider kind of my Signatures for Soldiers family. And then we're getting in front of more and more people every year. Hey, do you know who we are, what we do? You know, here it is. And just raising that awareness about the needs for homeless and disabled veterans is it's a platform I never thought I would have.
Well, you've done very well with it. You know, you should be proud of the work that you've done. Proud of the money that you raised. Proud of of all the people that you have helped. And you know, we wish you continued success.
Thank you.
You know, Drew and I are always there to support you guys. So I say you are the. I don't want to call you the official charity of Let Me Get That Potograph, but we'll call you the unofficial charity of Let Me Get That Potograph.
I mean, we can work out a deal to be the official.
We can talk about we'll talk about that
another time.
So, but Tim, thank you for taking a few minutes out to talk about it with us. Absolutely. And Ari, thank you for your service. Thank you for coming out and checking out your first national. Hopefully you have a good experience here in the next couple hours.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate both of you. Thanks.
All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. That was cut in from the national Saturday morning. I got a chance to sit down with those guys. Amazing story. You know, hitting that $250,000 mark since
Incredible.
and the way it was done.
Yeah.
You know, having one of the breakers from the room come and look, we're gonna get you over this line tonight. And literally just being there for hours, going through the boxes of autograph stuff for their people on whatnot, and raising all that money. It was an absolutely amazing story. And look, maybe we get him to the $500,000 mark.
Oh no, not a maybe. We're getting him to the $500,000 mark, and they're gonna go well beyond that. And Tim is a wonderful guy who we are going to have on the show here coming up soon. We've got a lot of guests from the national coming up in the next couple weeks, months. But you know, Tim's first national with Signatures for Soldiers was my first national. We set up, and Stu, our old co-host, he was very close with Tim. He actually found out about Tim's stuff and helped him get a booth at his first national, where they literally added an extra booth and tucked him in the very corner, like he was facing a wall almost, because they had no room, but they wanted this charity and this good cause to be there. They gave him an opening. To see where he has come in those 6 nationals is just amazing, because, I mean, it literally started, like he said, the first national they went to, I think the entire weekend overall, they made a little under $5,000. And you look at them 6 years later, they're crossing 250 grand and going so much stronger. I mean, it's an amazing success story. And Tim and his wife, who I've gotten a chance to meet his wife a couple times now too, who is instrumental in Signatures for Soldiers. What they have been able to do is nothing short of amazing. And there's honestly not a nicer and better and truly genuine person to run this company and be a representative for the hobby and for veterans and everybody than Tim. You couldn't pay me enough to say a single bad thing about this man. Just phenomenal top to bottom, and to see their rise over the past 6 years warms my heart makes me happy for the hobby community. I love when, like you said, the breakers that rallied around to help them get there, push that stuff. It's just beautiful, man. I just love seeing it because all of us that kind of came there in Cleveland that year, 6 years ago or whatever, that was all kind of our first national with Clint, Jared, myself, Tim, all of us. It's neat watching everybody grow and seeing 6 years later where all these people are. It's just phenomenal.
It's funny. I was talking about that with Clint and then his buddy Matt from Hobbsy. Sunday morning, we were I've been there since Clint started Zion Cases, and I was telling him, like, dude, it's been so much fun, like watching you grow, this company. And like, if you had asked me back then, like people were saying, like, why would anybody want to carry around a case with all your slabs and things like that? And now the question is, why wouldn't you want to be walking around carrying around a Zion cases with your slabs in it? The same thing for Signatures for Soldiers. And I will say, after that interview, Ari and his dad, who was also there, they wanted to grab some of the t-shirts, and they, Tim wanted to give them to him because it was like, I think they were giving them out to all the veterans and things like that popped by. They both his dad, who's an Army veteran, and Ari, who's a Navy veteran, they basically said, no, absolutely not. We're buying these. And I think between the two of them, they grabbed like 4 or 5 shirts. And Ari was going to bring back a bunch, for his buddies down in Jacksonville. And I think they were $15 a piece if you wanted to buy them.
Right.
And I saw a couple of bills with Ben Franklin on them.
Yeah.
Go over to Tim's wife, and they said no change.
Yep.
So, like that's the kind of support they're getting, and things like that. And speaking of t-shirts, I don't know if you saw Matt from Ludex walking around. He had a co-branded Ludex Signatures for Soldiers t-shirt with a huge Signatures for Soldiers logo on the back. T-shirt is actually made by Grunt Style, and they decided to put it back on sale again with a portion of the proceeds going to Signatures for Soldiers.
Beautiful.
So if you go to gruntstyle.com and you search for Ludex, that's going to be the easiest way to find it, Ludex. It's going to pop up, and you're going to be able to order the shirt through next week, I believe.
Nice.
I think it's like $25 or something like that. I shared it on Instagram, on my personal, not the Potograph one.
Yeah.
So, go check that out. And, if you need info, you can buy one of those shirts. They were just absolutely, really amazing looking.
Yeah, they were.
Speaking of Ludex.
Yeah. Let's go over a couple more things before we wrap up.
This happened in the VIP lounge, and this is actually one of the greatest things. So we were in the back room of the VIP lounge, and Brian Urlacher is back there. And for those of you who don't know who Brian is, well, you've been hiding under a rock forever. But, Chicago Bears Hall of Fame linebacker, like one of the best to ever play the game. He did a video where he was opening up a pack of Prism football. And you could see the video. I think Ludex shared it on their website and things, or, on their Instagram and things like that. Well, I had Ethan, my son, with me, and I believe our buddy Cut Comp had given him a pack of 2021 Score football to open. Well, he was sitting behind me in the chairs. I was talking to Brian and, and Matt and the other Brian from Ludex. And he opens the pack, and all of a sudden I hear, Dad, look what I got. And he comes running over to me, and I turned to look at him, and he had the card held like in the palm of his hand. My arm, as I was turning, hit his palm, and it bent the card in half.
Oh, no.
All right. Well, no. Here's the deal. So it was a Tom Brady base card. All right. Financially, not a huge loss.
Yeah.
However, Ethan was just absolutely devastated. I think it was, he doesn't rip a lot of football, but I know he likes Tom Brady. It was the first Tom Brady card he ever pulled. And like, you could see him like, he puts his hand, puts his head in his hand. Like you could tell, like he wants to start crying.
Oh yeah. It's the kid holding back the emotion he wants to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it turns out that Urlacher, when he was opening this pack, pulled and you could see it in the video that Ludex posted, he pulled a green hyper Tom Brady to 175.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, you hear him go, "Hey, man, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I will trade you my Tom Brady for your Tom Brady."
Oh, that's awesome.
And
That's
all of a
so
sudden,
great.
so he trades Ethan, the green hyper Tom Brady, to 175, which, I mean, look, it's a $35, $40 card.
Yeah.
For the bent 2001 score
That's so
Tom
great.
Brady card. So so the one that was posted is my son is now in possession of that card.
Because see that right there, that makes the card 20 times more valuable for personal stance. You know what I mean? Like your son just made a trade with Brian freaking Urlacher. Like,
I know exactly.
It's killer.
And it was, he actually wound up with the rest of the cards out of that prison pack that got ripped too.
Nice.
But but that was like one of those things like, holy crap. Like, did that really just happen?
Only at the National, man.
Only at the National.
Yeah.
I would say, holy crap, did I actually turn and he had his card held in the palm of his hand and bent it? I'm like, oh my God. So fortunately, Brian saved the day with that trade, because the rest of the day would have gone really, really bad for me. If if I
know
didn't
those
have
looked
something to trade.
Jude's given me plenty of those from time to time, but Brian Urlacher never saved the day for Jude.
No, exactly. And it was just, it was just so much fun to, get a chance to hang out, back there. Him, Cassius Marsh was back there for a while too. Got a chance to hang out with him and talk to him. I mean, it's like, I didn't think that we'd be in that situation on Friday.
No, that's pretty awesome. That's a story I didn't know about till just now. That's really cool.
I know. I intentionally didn't tell you because I wanted to see your reaction to that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. I mean, that's one of those things that from someone, I mean, Jude goes so many games and stuff like that. All the stuff that he gets from athletes that are just that they just mean that much more, to a kid, just like they do to us. I mean, like, if I had gotten a card traded to me from freaking Brian Urlacher, you better believe it's going on this shelf right behind me and you're going to see it forever. Like,
and then, that card's never going to be for sale.
No.
That's not a big deal. So that was one of the stories. Now, before we go, we got one last topic that we haven't covered this week that is always a popular thing to talk about that you've got some inside info on. And we have to cover it. And that's the Panini party on Saturday night.
Yeah.
So I was not there. You were not there. However, purposefully, you could have gone.
Yeah.
However, and I know a bunch of people that were there that night.
Oh, yes.
So what did you hear?
All right. Well, 90% of my team went. I had a ticket, but I gave my ticket up to another team member, and I will tell you why I gave it up. As they were making the couple of announcements that they did, they announced that Diplo would be DJing there. I immediately knew that was not the party for me. The second I saw Diplo, I'm out. No, I'm good. I don't need it. I don't need music so loud I can't talk. I'm fine. Just stay away. Now, had Andre 3000 been with Big Boy, I would have been pissed. But let's face it, wasn't really Outkast that was there, so I don't give a fuck. Right. But this, from everyone I talked to, my God, was this bad. It's gotten worse every year. And we talked about it on the show, our pre-NSCC show. There were not going to be any gold packs. So there was literally no wax at this party broken. Now, if you've been to any Panini party over the last 6 years, you know that was what 90% of the people at that party did.
Yep.
They opened cards. There was zero wax on the entire floor. There wasn't a card saver. There wasn't anything on the floor in terms of actually opening cards, having anything to do with cards. Secondly, they didn't announce any of the guests outside of 2 and Diplo before the show started. So there was no hype regarding that. The guests were incredibly underwhelming, in my opinion. And then 4 of the guests were underage children that had signed NIL deals through basketball. They're some of their NIL basketball players that were there with their parents at a party that was meant for drinking. And the parents got quite intoxicated, and you could see some of the kids not happy to be there. But in addition to that, there was no area set up to actually take photos with the celebrities. Like before, they had, the Panini wall behind you where you could take a photo. There was no photo op area. Ed Reed walked into the party. Obviously, we had hung out with him 2 nights before. He saw them. He was ushered straight into a back room, never to be seen again. The athletes were not on the floor interacting with people. it was everything that I heard, but it was just a complete and total mess. It was an excuse for people to get hammered, which a lot of people did. The bathrooms had lots of residue on counters, from what I was told. Lots of people sniffling. It was a interesting party, so to speak. But everybody that I talked to, outside of the few people that might still like to go to clubs, this was basically just a night out at the club. It was not a Panini party, and we mentioned it last week. This is the time when you want the attention on you. Yet you had the Arch Manning reveal. Yeah, that got some attention on you. But that Panini party is your chance to really shine.
Yep.
And I'll tell you, man, just from talking to everyone that went to it, my entire team, other people that went from all age groups, from people that were in their 20s to in their 60s, that all went to it. I didn't hear anyone say that this was the type of party that they wanted. And it's kind of disappointing. And I hope that's not how the Panini party goes in the future, but a really, really rough event this year from what I was
and I will say, we talked about the gold packs and them not being there in the pre-national show. And
which they are being mailed out this week to people, by the way. And when they're
right. But what Panini initially said was that, they were worried about theft.
Yeah.
And okay, great. But now what I'm thinking was that was an excuse. And I'm thinking they delayed them because they knew that the Arch Manning signing was coming. Yeah. And I would not be surprised if they just couldn't get them produced in time to hand out there. And I mean, we'll find out once people receive them and they start ripping them, because if we see Arch Manning cards in there, then, we're going to know that I was right.
Well, I'm wondering if we don't see that color blast that was posted on the wall. I wonder if that's not something included. I mean, gold packs have all types of different stuff in them. There's no rules or so to speak, or, prereq that they need to follow for these. They can put anything they want in them. The silver packs this year had the Wemby, that was a surprise. That's going for like $1,500, $2,000 or something like that now. So that
explains why the silver pack cost on the secondary market is so high.
Oh yeah,
is because of that Wemby. But there was another party on Saturday night at the same time as the Panini party that Blowout decided to throw.
Yeah.
And this one, you kind of knew what you were getting into at this point, because what they did was they rented out this massive bus and they parked it about 2 miles from the convention center. And they had a whole bunch of people loaded onto this bus, and they had one celebrity, and it was Ricky Williams.
Hell yeah.
And the appeal to this party was that you got to smoke pot with Ricky Williams.
Damn straight.
Now, here's the thing. You didn't hear a lot about this. You didn't see a lot of promotion on social media, which is smart, because if that's the case, a lot of people were getting randomly drug tested on Monday when they got back to work.
Yeah.
But a friend of ours, who I will not name, was there. Ricky Williams walked right over to where they were sitting on the bus and plopped down next to them and literally spent the entire night hanging out with them and, smoking weed and, being
playing
Ricky
Madden.
Williams.
I saw Madden was on the bus. He played Madden with a couple buddies of mine. Yeah.
And I mean, look, it's exactly what you'd expect from Ricky Williams.
Yes.
So this was not a disappointment.
No, everyone I talked to that went to that said it was a blast. And Ricky actually,
because it's probably because they were baked out of their mind and didn't realize that it, might not have been a blast. When you have that much
hit the floor too. He was over at the Sick Cards booth with Durkee for a while. I mean, a lot of people actually hit the floor for a while. It was cool.
Yeah, I mean, Barry Sanders was out there doing a kids break at the Panini booth. I actually I walked past him as he was on his way over to the booth to do that. I got stiff armed by one of his guys walking around and just getting me out of the way. So it's like, all right, cool. I got stiff armed by one of Barry Sanders' guys.
Yeah, kick ass.
Would have been cooler to get stiff armed by Barry Sanders himself.
Right.
But I'll take it. Not going to complain. But we got Cleveland coming up next year. I'm looking forward to Cleveland. I'm not looking forward to the new layout of the show floor. Yeah. But what I will say is this is the first time back in Cleveland since 2018 due to the cancellation last year of Cleveland because the convention center was no longer available.
Yep.
But Cleveland, the National in Cleveland is always a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And we have 12 months now
Yep.
to try to figure out what the big announcements are going to be.
Yeah.
Who's going to show up, what the show's going to look like.
Well, especially what the show's going to look like, because it's under new management now. I mean, this was the swan song for the old management, the people who have run the National forever. I mean, this was their swan
17
song.
years. 17 years.
Yeah, 17 years.
Yeah.
So this is a new board of directors. This is a new everything.
Well, no, the board of directors is the same. It's the
it's under new.
Yeah, just the management. And I had a chance to talk with a couple of the guys that are part of the new management team.
Mm-hmm.
And I am really looking forward to what they're going to wind up doing with this. There is there's some very positive things and positive vibes. The new management team is made up of guys, one, who have a lot of experience running shows.
Yes.
But two, are collectors themselves.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the most important part.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. But I will say, for a group that was quote unquote their swan song leaving, they could have phoned it in. They could have said, whatever, we had a good run. All right, we're done, etc. Instead, in my opinion, they made this one of the best nationals yet. I mean, my first is always going to be one of my favorites.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to really breaking down everything from, the event inside to the food, everything outside, I mean, that it was phenomenal. Just an absolutely incredible national. And I don't think you're going to find many people that would disagree.
I would not disagree.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Not in the least bit.
There you go.
So, and on that note, that is going to wrap up our review show for the 2023 National in Chicago.
Yes, absolutely, guys. We will have, like Scott said, a lot of upcoming guests and things from the National. Once again, want to thank Tim from Signatures for Soldiers for taking time to do that interview that we had for you guys today with Scott and Ari on the floor. But we've got a lot of amazing stuff coming up. And like Scott kind of teased a little bit earlier, next week, we will start having every episode of the show, not only on audio like you're listening to right now, but it will be up on our YouTube page as well, the videos of every single show, but they're going to be a little bit different than the episodes that you hear on the podcast, as we're not cutting a single thing. So any outtakes, anything like that, you guys get to see them. Whether that's good or bad, we'll find out sooner or later.
Well, you guys will get to see how the sausage is made. You'll get to see the pre-edited stuff kind of as we go. You'll get to see some outtakes and, things that are not going to appear in the audio segment. Yeah. You'll be able to see on the video side of things. It's kind of going to be not only the weekly show itself, but it's also going to be a behind the scenes.
Yes.
Kind of thing. So, you'll get to see, we may talk about some things in between segments. We may, we may say, yeah, I don't like the way that sounded. Let's go do that again.
Yeah.
And it's going to be something completely different than, what you see. It's going to be, I don't want to say it's going to be unrefined, because it's still very refined.
Yes.
But it's going to be, it's raw. It's going to be, things as we do it. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, me too.
Doing it that way. And I think some of those outtakes that, we may have some people that wind up taking those clips and, kind of running with them somewhere else. Like, can you believe what these guys say, did or said, but look, it's what it is.
Yeah. Comes with the territory.
Yeah. It comes with the territory. So we'll be starting that next week when I am back at home.
Yep.
And we'll see what happens with it.
Yeah, looking forward to that, guys. And we've got a lot of other really cool stuff, some stuff that we hammered down at the National, and some stuff that we're finalizing now that hopefully we can bring to you guys really, really soon. But as Scott said, that is going to wrap up episode 193 of Let Me Get That Potograph, our post-National episode. I'd like to thank our awesome sponsors, Denver Card Shows, Show Your Slabs, Slab Strong Stand-Up Displays, Card Ladder, Treasure Hunter Sports Cards, Game Time Cards, and Zion Cases. Thank you guys so much for everything. We could not do this show without you guys. But like I said, tons of amazing guests coming up in the next few weeks. Stuff will be on YouTube next week. We'll have a lot of stuff up on socials this week from the National and more. A lot of stuff you guys have not heard yet will be coming your way, including a rather large national recap video that I'm in the process of editing as we speak. But until next week, guys, you know the deal. Keep ripping those packs, pulling those hits. We'll talk to you then. Peace.